All right, let's talk about one of the most subtle but most dangerous illusions in AI, the story we tell ourselves about where our models are allowed to fail. You've heard this before, right? Someone in a meeting pulls up a chart and says, "Hey, check it out. This model has a great ROC curve." It's said with a ton of confidence, like it's a badge of honor. Like, job done, the model's good to go. But here's the catch. That beautiful, smooth curve, it's built on a whole bunch of possibilities, a whole bunch of decisions that your business will never actually make.
Yeah, think of it like this. Your business doesn't get to operate in a dozen parallel universes at the same time. You live in one. You have one budget, you have one tolerance for risk, you have one line in the sand, and that curve, it's averaging performance across all those other worlds, and it's hiding what's really happening in yours.
And that's exactly what we're going to get into. We're going to move past this seductive but ultimately misleading picture of the overall curve and get right down to the single decision that actually matters. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll see how just one tiny change can have these massive, real-world consequences. Then, we'll look at how two identical models can actually be dangerously different. We'll explore why teams fall for this trap in the first place, how it all leads to spectacular failures in production, and finally, the right way to think about this problem. Let's make this totally real. Forget the abstract math for a second. Let's just talk about a fraud detection system. Simple enough, right? Its job is to protect your business and your customers. So the model doesn't just give you a simple yes or no. It spits out a score, a probability. Let's say a transaction comes through and gets a risk score of 0.82. Now that score doesn't do anything by itself. Nothing happens until it's compared against a line we've drawn, a threshold. In this case, that threshold is 0.80. And because 0.82 is higher, boom, the transaction is blocked. And this is the most important part of this whole thing. The model does not tell you where that line should be. That number, that 0.80, it's not some mathematical truth that was discovered deep in the data. It's a business decision. It's a policy choice made by people. Now, just look at what happens because of that human choice. With our threshold at 0.80, we block 1,000 users and stop 50 grand in fraud. Not bad. But let's say the fraud team gets a little nervous and decides to get more aggressive. They nudge that threshold down just a little bit to 0.75. Well, we only stop an extra $2,000 in fraud, but we block 10 times as many users, most of whom are totally legit, and our customer complaint lines just explode. Think about that. The model's brain, its predictions, they were exactly the same in both scenarios. The only thing that changed was the rule we decided to apply, the policy. And that policy shift had massive, real-world consequences for our customers and for our bottom line. So now that we see just how much power that single line holds, let's go back and expose the big illusion. How can a single reassuring number, like an AUC score, be so incredibly misleading? Okay, so meet Model A and Model B. We run our tests, we calculate the metrics, and look at that. Both come back with a really impressive AUC score of 0.92. Now, remember, this number is supposed to summarize the entire performance of the model across all possible thresholds. So based on this, you'd think, hey, these models are basically the same. You might even just flip a coin to decide which one to ship. But we don't live on the curve. We live at our one chosen threshold, which, let's say for our business, is 0.85. And when we zoom in on just that one slice of reality, oh man, a pretty terrifying picture emerges. Model A, with its great overall score, it completely misses 15% of the catastrophic failures. It's letting the really, really bad stuff slip through. Meanwhile, Model B is great at catching those big failures, but it does it by over-flagging everything else, creating a terrible experience for our users. On paper, they looked like twins. In reality, at the only point that actually matters to us, they are two completely different and, frankly, dangerous strategies. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? A model's performance at any other random threshold, it's just an academic exercise. It's trivia. The only thing that matters is how it behaves right there on the line you've drawn, where real money, real safety, and real user trust are at stake. So you have to ask, right, if this flaw is so obvious and so dangerous, why do so many smart, experienced teams keep falling back on metrics like ROC and AUC? What is it that makes them so appealing? Well, this is the trap. ROC curves are comforting. They give you that one clean number.
they feel objective, they feel complete. But their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. An AUC score tells you how well the model sorts things. It tells you if it's good at ranking a fraudulent case higher than a legitimate one. What it does not tell you is how well the model decides when it's forced to draw that hard line and take an action. It rewards good ranking, not good decision-making.
So let's see how this moves from being a problem in a spreadsheet to a total catastrophe in the real world. This is what happens when that great-looking lab result actually meets production traffic.
I've seen this story play out so many times. In the first quarter, the model just crushes its offline tests. The AUC is a beautiful 0.95. Everybody high fives, it gets the green light for launch. Quarter 2, it goes live. But by quarter 3, the dashboards are all flashing red. User complaints have skyrocketed, and revenue is tanking. And in the postmortem, the truth comes out. That optimal threshold was only optimal for yesterday's data. It was brittle, and it just shattered the second it ran into new users, new behaviors, and new attacks out in the wild. Okay, so if we want to get out of this cycle, if we want to stop these failures, we have to fundamentally change how we think. We need a completely new mental model for what a threshold actually is.
And this is it. This is the key insight. Stop thinking of a threshold as some technical parameter you just tune to get the best score. It is a policy decision. It's a statement about your company's values and priorities, and you are embedding it directly into your code. It's the silent judge that decides who gets a loan, who's flagged as a risk, and who gets access to your product. This should be the very first question any leader, any product manager, any executive asks their technical team. Not what's the AUC, but where exactly did we draw the line? And then, here's the follow-up. Who made that decision? And when it's wrong, because no threshold is ever going to be perfect, who pays the price? Is it the customer? Is it the business? This forces accountability. It connects that technical number directly to its human and financial consequences. Let's just bring this all home. The failures we're talking about, they don't happen because the models are bad. They happen because we measure them with a comforting average that completely hides the painful reality of a single high-stakes decision. We were admiring the entire map instead of focusing on the one street where we actually live and work. But here's the thing. Even if you get this right, even if you focus on the right decision boundary, there is another trap waiting for you. Next time, we're going to see how a metric that is perfect for one job can be quietly destructive when you try to use it for another, creating a whole new category of invisible failure. So I'll just leave you with this idea to chew on. In AI, averages are comfortable. They let us feel good. But it's the decisions that expose us. It's in those single, specific choices that we reveal the true character and the true risk of the systems we're building.